Unlock your full potential with these 4 mindset hacks to overcome fear in your life. I want to share with you guys this crazy 6-day adventure I went on called Date with Destiny. If you haven't seen Tony Robbins' I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix, essentially it's a documentary of going through this event that will help you understand the level of intensity that went on for 6 days straight, 13, 16-hour days, going till 2 in the morning. Not only was it transformational, I run my own events and I'm a coach, and Tony is the GOAT, right? Like when it comes to performance and output, Tony Robbins is one of the top in the world. And also just for myself. So I was taking so many notes and writing down things and just listening to words, because oftentimes it's what's caught, not taught. And I took down 4 specific mindset hacks and beliefs, these statements that were said. It wasn't even part of the core curriculum, that have probably had the biggest impact on my life. And I want to share it with all of you guys right now. The first one is faith over fear. Here's how I'm going to unpack this for you. I want you to consider what the definition of faith is, right? If you think about it, it's probably something like a future perception of a positive experience, right? Like that is faith. It's like, I have faith in the future, something great happening. Cool. Now I'm going to ask you, what is fear? Well, fear is a belief about a future that has a negative experience in it. That is fear, right? Because like if I'm fearful, I don't want that to happen. Who decides if you have faith or fear about the future? You do. And when I heard that, I realized how valuable of a lesson that at any moment I was feeling fear, I could quickly ask myself, what would be the faith alternative to this moment? Instead of being fearful for this negative future, what would need to be true to have a positive belief of the future? That's faith. In choosing to show up with that energy, with that mindset, with that vision of a positive expectancy for the future. And that was a game changer for me. So now anytime I feel fearful, I always ask myself, what's the opposite? What's the faith? And it's kind of crazy because it gets to people because they're like, hey, why aren't you worried about this? I'm not saying I'm not going to be diligent and like auditing all the things that could go wrong and protecting the downside. I'm not saying it's a hands-off process. I'm just saying the energy, the focus, the language I use is always going to be faith-based, not fear-based. Number 2 is the get to versus have to language. So Tony was sharing about relationships and talking about different scenarios about people and status. And then he actually said something in passing. It was like not a big deal for him. He just said, oh, do you guys want to know what the difference between rich people and poor people are? And everybody's like, yeah. He goes, rich people use the get to language. Poor people use the have to language. And then he unpacked it. And what that meant was that when people that have wealth, and it's not about money. That's what's crazy. It has nothing to do with the amount of money in your bank account. It has to do with the quality of life. A rich life is somebody who uses the get to language. I get to go to the gym. I get to do work. I get to shoot these videos. The get to language is a decision. It's a reframe. And in that moment where you start feeling like, I can't believe I have to do this, if you stop yourself and rewrite that internal mental script to get to, it will change your whole perspective towards that activity and allow you to start living a rich life. Number 3 is the power of a primary question. Now, this is actually core to Date with Destiny. If you go to the program at the end of it on day 6, you're literally going to sit down and create this massive poster with all the different outcomes and visions you have for your life and goals and values and all these things. And you're going to design a new primary question, a question that's going to help you to stop focusing on negative potential situations and instead focus on the beauty of the world that we all live in. One of the questions that I got to hopefully inspire all of you is this simple question, which is, how can I appreciate even more God's grace and guidance in this moment right now? I literally ask myself that question dozens of times a day, because I use it anytime I feel like I start to have some worry about something, or I get frustrated with somebody, or I'm not enjoying something. I stop myself. I almost use it as a trigger. Boom. It's a trigger mindset. Okay. Ask myself the question, how can I appreciate even more God's grace and guidance in this moment right now? And it literally, my sight will open up. The appreciation for the colors all around me, the conversations I'm about to have, all of a sudden just they get exciting. And it's just so interesting how what you focus on expands. And if you're focusing on, fear or doubt or frustration or whatever, that will expand. And if you ask yourself this question, it's almost like a heat seeker missile to find the good in everything that's happening right now in your life. It is a super powerful strategy. So I want to ask you, what question would you ask yourself to reset your focus towards possibility and positivity? It could be your own flavor. I just want to give you an example of mine, but use the same pattern to design it for yourself. And that in itself will be a very powerful mindset hack to keep you focused on the right things. Number 4 is the purple eyes reaction. This one's my favorite. He was talking to somebody that was like super triggered by their in-laws because they said something that hurt their feelings. And they were telling Tony this, and Tony does these interventions that are super intense. I mean, reality TV's got nothing on Tony Robbins' intervention. And as he was listening to this person, he explains to them is that you have to have a response that is no different than if somebody runs up to you and screams in your face, "You've got purple eyes, you've got purple eyes, you've got purple eyes." Because he asked them, he goes, if somebody did that to you, what would you think to yourself? And the person sat there and goes, "But I don't have purple eyes." And he said, "Exactly," in his deep voice and big hands and fingers and a big smile. And the reason why is because at the end of the day, who you are. You know the value you bring in the world. You know your heart. You know your soul. You know your spirit. And just because somebody else says something to you, you shouldn't react. You shouldn't allow them to throw you off of your day. I mean, my kids were fighting the other day because one of them took a snack and the other one screamed at them. They weren't supposed to take a snack, and it hurt his feelings because he said it in front of his friend. He felt a little humiliated. And after I calmed them down and I was putting them to bed, I explained to them this exact same strategy, the purple eyes. And it was funny because when I was saying this, "You have purple eyes, you have purple eyes," they kind of laughed and they said, "But I don't have purple eyes." And I go, "Exactly." And I said, "Noah, that's the way you have to think about it when somebody's saying something to you that upsets you because you know it's not true. Just think to yourself, purple eyes." In those moments, if you can think to yourself, purple eyes, and have mind like water and be non-responsive, it doesn't mean you allow somebody to be abusive, but it gives you a tool and a technique to overcome allowing yourself to completely go into this place where you feel like upset and you feel rejected and you're like not happy and you're just like, why did that person say that to me? Look, everybody's on their own journey and they're having their own hallucination about this world and they're in their own this movie and they're the center character of their own movie. Trust me. The way they feel about you and what they say to you does not reflect who you know you are inside. So just listen and hear purple eyes and it'll help you reframe everything. That is how you live your full potential. Use these 4 mindset hacks: the have to versus get to, the fear versus faith, the purple eyes, and your primary question, such a powerful question, to reframe, to retrain your brain to focus on the positivity of the future. If you like these strategies, be sure to check out my top business books in life. I literally read over 1,500 books. I wanted to distill them down into the 25 that I think will have the biggest impact on you. I even have highlighted quotes, etc. So if you want that, just click the link, download it, and I'll see you in the next video.